Come back to the pause, and a while ago we were talking about artifacts coming back from the UK, and it looks like 2 UK nationals have already come. They've taken the lead, and that's next on our plate. The Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders is one of the largest and most influential trade associations in the UK. It supports the interests of the United Kingdom automotive industry, both home and abroad, promoting the industry to governments, stakeholders, and of course the media. It's been 5 days of these engagements and partnership. As the Auto Investor Mission ends today, it is suspected that meaningful partnership will be realized between the UK and Ghana, driving mutual prosperity between the two countries. The UK-Africa Investor Mission started on the 22nd of this month and ends today, Friday, 26th of January 2024. In the studio are two envoys from the United Kingdom to throw more light on the mission and its outcome and the status of the partnership engagement so far. I have in the studio Victoria Bolton-Smith, Invest Lead for GHJET Ghana, Jobs and Economic Transformation, and of course Matt Smith, Head, International Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders Limited. So let me start with you, Veronica.
Yes, thank you.
Right, let me start with you. So give us a brief of what really this is all about.
What GHJET's about.
Right.
So GHJET stands for Jobs for Economic Transformation. It's a 5-year Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office programme where we're really trying to support Ghana's move away from aid to trade and supporting Ghana's mandate essentially to industrialise. So we look at 3 core sectors, automotive industry, textile and garments and pharmaceuticals. And what we're trying to do is create jobs and also to spur economic investment. So we look to the international community to bring big ticket anchor investors as well as supporting the SME base here in Ghana.
So how are you facilitating? Are you doing the facilitation between the businesses and the local partners?
Yes,
is that what is happening now?
correct.
How are you doing that?
So a number of ways. I mean, the first thing that we tried to do as a program is a 5-year program. So we're currently entering year 4. What we've tried to do is look at things like policy and incentive framework to ensure that, those are the foundations for any investor to feel comfortable to invest in any country. So we really looked at that and supporting the work that Ministry of Trade and Industry does, as well as working very closely with the GIPC. And then ways in which we coordinate with investors is to reach out to them to share the policy updates. So as you know, Ghana's gone from 0 OEMs as of 2020 to now 11. So that was a direct result of the fantastic auto policy that was pushed through Parliament in 3 months.
Right.
So, these are indicators to investors that Ghana is ready for business and, sectors like the automotive industry are definitely open for business.
And already we have a lot of, big giants that have already set up assembling plants here in Ghana and then, producing for the local market. Indeed, I'm sure for the West African market. But Matt, how is the mission going?
It's going very well. Yeah, we've had an excellent week here. So we've met with government and policymakers. We've met with a number of the manufacturing companies. We've visited their sites. We've met with the Ghana Auto Development Centre. So we've got an excellent overview of the automotive sector in Ghana, and we're going to take that away and consider what the opportunities are for collaboration in future.
Perhaps I can just follow up and say, what has been the learning process?
Well, for me, it's my first time in Ghana. In my role, it's to look at the international opportunities for the UK automotive sector. So in the UK, we have one of the most open and international automotive sectors in the world. So we're very keen to collaborate internationally. So my objective for coming here was to understand the sector in Ghana better, to meet with some of your organisations, to make links and find some opportunities for the future. And I think we've got quite a lot to take back with us. And
Veronica, I'm guessing that networking is key in this. So what is the strategy going forward?
So really it's as, engagements such as what we've had this week, the Auto Investor Mission, where we can bring interested parties who want to kind of seek business opportunities and partnerships. So we've arranged this investor mission over the last few months. And then we also organise webinars to share information on, policy updates, incentives and so on. And then we just are out in the market. We like to engage with the Ghanaian community in the automotive space. We work with the Ministry of Trade and Industry to, be on top of all of the latest trends and things that are happening.
Okay.
So yeah, that's just a few ways.
But are there things already on the ground in terms of linking the international businesses to the local investors?
Yes, we have an office here where we try and, share the studies that we've drafted. So deep studies into, opportunities in specific areas of component manufacturing, for example. So there are ways in which organisations and businesses can coordinate with us on the ground here in Accra at our office Palladium and find out more information.
Right. So Matt, I don't know whether you've been following the governance of this country. In the last budget, government made it clear that the plan is to move to electric in terms of vehicles, and there's even incentive for those who want to own electric vehicles. Are companies in the UK taking advantage of this? What is the plan?
Well, we've heard a lot about Ghana's plan for the automotive sector overall, and there's been a lot of discussions this week about electric vehicles. Our experience in the UK, we've transitioned quite rapidly to electric vehicles in the UK. So in last year, it was 16.5% of our market, for example. What we're seeing in the UK, though, is that there's very important for government to support the market, as you've just said, with incentives for buyers, because these vehicles are expensive, but also to look at infrastructure, and that's absolutely crucial. So that's our experience in the UK, that it's key for government to roll out infrastructure for electric vehicles so that people can be confident that when they drive, they can charge in their destination.
It is something really new in Ghana.
Yes.
Exactly. So I don't know whether, since you've been in Ghana, you've driven around town, you hardly will come across an electric vehicle. Even though in recent past, I've seen some Tesla and few others, entering the Ghanaian market. So as you follow the trends and then adapt, how are you dealing with this so that you are ahead of the game?
So we engage with, I think Matt mentioned already, the Automotive Development Centre. So really that's the heart of, and it's the one-stop shop where everyone will go for information about what's happening in the auto space, particularly in EVs. How do we stay on top of trends? Well, it's really about the consumer. They drive the demand. So if we're looking at, the fact that they want more electric vehicles, we then need to lobby government to ensure that we have adequate infrastructure in place to ensure that people can buy the EVs and be able to charge them. So we just engage with all of the kind of key stakeholders and then, try and see best practice in other markets and bring that here to Ghana.
And how are you hoping to capture them with the requisite knowledge so that they can inform themselves?
Through our engagements with MOTI and the Auto Development Centre, the GIPC, we will, sort of come out with statements and documentation that we can share with anyone interested. They'll go to the Automotive Development Centre to collect that information as well. So that would be the kind of key point for dissemination, and then also engage media like yourselves when we have announcements to make.
But Matt, from the government side, are there incentives for this area?
Well, we've heard about the development of the automotive policy in Ghana, and it's very encouraging to hear the early discussions going on about electric vehicles. But yes, incentives are important. As I said, there have been some incentives in the UK for electric vehicles that helps people take up. And we've also heard about, here in Ghana, about the policies that the government is looking to bring in to develop the sector. I
remember in the UK, you had a deadline that was revised recently.
Yes.
Yeah. So can you tell us a bit about it?
Well, in the UK, by 2030, 80% of the vehicles sold will be zero emission, and that's mandated by law. So we see that starting this year, manufacturers have to sell an increasing proportion of zero emission vehicles up to 2030. And then by 2035, there'll be no more traditional petrol or diesel engines sold, and it will be only zero emission electric vehicles in 2035.
That's really good news. But as you try to roll out these things, and you collaborate with Imbroka University, in terms of knowledge transfer, how are you doing it?
I think through a number of ways. I mean, we have working groups where we kind of bring in key stakeholders to kind of find out how we can ensure that, are you talking specifically about electric vehicles?
Right.
Yeah, so we'll look at things like vehicle finance, for example, which of course goes across the board. We'll talk around the regulation and the standards that are required. That's knowledge transfer. We look at how we can work with associations such as SMMT to understand how they've done it in the UK and what we can adopt here in Ghana. So we're out in the markets, and we plan to sort of engage with the governments of Thailand and other governments where they've successfully rolled out, policies for electric vehicles and so forth, and see what's best practice in the market and adopt those strategies. I
wanted to talk about education, but before I do that, energy is key in this particular area. I'm sure you've done your own homework. You think that West Africa, Ghana is ready for this revolution?
Well, as I understand it, Ghana has an excess of power on the grid. So yes, I think you probably have some of the key kind of conditions to have electric vehicles in the market. I've always been a great believer in making sure that Ghana can be a place where EV vehicles can be manufactured, because I still think, there are a lot of people in provincial areas and with road infrastructure that might struggle with EVs. I think they're perhaps definitely going to be very useful and needed in the cities. But I think that Ghana could perhaps indeed be a hub for EV manufacturing and with export opportunities. And
the incentive is there to encourage people.
Well, we're working on that.
In the last few days that you've engaged local partners, do you see enthusiasm?
Yes, certainly. I think with the recent finding of lithium in Ghana as well, there's a lot of discussion at the moment around how that can be used in terms of battery processing, battery manufacturing. So there is huge opportunities just in that space alone. We're very keen on value addition, so things such as that would make a lot of sense. And of course, these are the batteries that are used in electric vehicles, so yeah.
So Matt, how are you hoping to step up the education so that we can continually improve the skills and capacity of the people you are working with?
Well, we've come here this week to understand Ghana, to build relationships and get to know people and companies. So we've done quite a lot of that. This is just, it's my first time in Ghana, my first time looking at the automotive sector.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes, it's been a very enjoyable visit. So we're looking to take those connections and the information that we've got back and to build on those partnerships in future.
So in terms of sustainability, Veronica, how is GHJET hoping to sustain this to the future?
We knew this was a 5-year program, so it was made with the idea that we would, hand over best practice, the learnings over the 5 years, and ensure that we're working hand in glove with the government. So our key partners being Ministry of Trade and Industry and the GIPC. So we have, work with them every week, essentially, to ensure that, they're along the journey with us. They understand kind of the ways in which we need to draft policy, how we have to have deep dive studies so that we can then share that with investors so that they're clear on where the investment opportunities lie. In terms of sustainability, this is the best way to work with governments, I think, in a collaborative way, and to ensure that, you're constantly looking at new areas for development and you're supporting your partners on that journey.
And are you getting the needed cooperation from government?
Yes, we have a really strong relationship with the Ministry of Trade and Industry and with the GIPC and other partners. I mean, we work with GEPA and so on. And we've had great engagements. I think, as they say, the proof is in the pudding. We wouldn't be where we are today with 11 OEMs, which I believe we're currently ahead of South Africa in terms of the number of OEMs in country.
Okay.
So I think these kind of statistics, these kind of fantastic markers that, 3 years ago, 4 years ago didn't exist, just goes to show the commitment of government and just how well programs like ours really work.
And final question so that I can share with the two of you, in terms of looking into the future, and what kind of future do you see as far as EVs are concerned?
For EVs?
Right.
Well, as I say, certainly, the climate is changing. We need to reduce our carbon emissions, and in the UK, the automotive industry is absolutely bought into that. So it is encouraging to see those early steps and discussions that are happening in Ghana. And I think as we see that automotive policy coming in and the market develops here, there's plenty of potential for the take-up of these vehicles in Ghana with the right support for the market and for the sector here.
Veronica?
What do I see for the future? I see job creation out of the growth of the automotive industry. It's very clear to me, having taken investors around this week, we had engagements with the Vice President. We've taken them across to Tema Enclave to have a look at automotive assembly there. It's clear that there's demand. People want these fantastic cars that are currently being assembled. But there's also a big interest in Ghana-made cars. So I think the future is a mixture of ensuring that we can encourage our international automotive companies to come here, but equally well, we're supporting the likes of Kantanka. And the program has been doing that. You might know
really
Kantanka,
That's really
who
great
are a Ghana auto manufacturer, manufacturing the likes of pickups and so on. So we actually took them out to Cairo to go and meet with investors. And our mission really is to support the local industry as well. So it's great. I see the future of Ghana very much buying Ghana-made cars. So
Great.
that's the hope. Yeah.
Right. So Matt, what memories are you carrying with you as you go back to the UK?
A very busy week, some very interesting visits. I I've enjoyed your jollof rice.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes, and
have you had Nigeria's own?
I haven't. No.
He doesn't want to.
I don't need to now.
Just stay with the Ghana one.
Yeah. No, I'm taking back memories of a very interesting visit. Lots of friendly people, a very warm welcome.
And Veronica, what memories are you carrying with you?
Well, for me, this is, I think, my 11th or 12th time in Ghana.
Oh, nice.
I'm, you know, a veteran.
You might as well give you a Ghanaian name.
Please do. I'm happy to take it. Look, every time I come, there's always something new happening. Another building cropping up, another road being constructed. You know, it's the indicator again of a country that's on the move, that's growing. And I think it's really exciting to see how quickly and how seriously the government takes policy, because without it, we wouldn't have investments here. And we've all suffered during COVID and so on. And I think these 3 years after COVID, 4 years after COVID, we're now seeing, you know, just the level of interest in the Ghanaian market. So it's exciting.
All right. Thank you so much for coming. And it's been nice speaking to you, and I hope that this, as the bill, the law that was passed by Parliament is about to take off very well, so that the needed employment will be created. That, for me, is my motivation in all of this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so that's it for this week's edition of The Pulse. Hopefully Monday we'll be back between 3 and 5. Until then, you have a good weekend. My name is Elton Robbie.